Welcome to ETAuto Town Hall, a show that brings mega stars from the automotive industry. And today I have somebody with me who is multicultural, who has hold top positions at multinational company and also world largest alliance in automotive space, Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi Alliance, and he is currently Chief Operating Officer as Nissan Motor Corporation, which is world's fifth largest passenger vehicle manufacturer. Nissan and Japan is known for resurrecting strongly after every crisis. They after 2011 a tsunami, they came back and started production in such a manner that it became of interest for the entire world. Today, we are lucky to welcome Mr. Ashwani Gupta, who is going to address the audience, reader of ETAuto, and going to take up all the questions around automotive industry and how can we really be better off in a situation like COVID-19. What are the ways we can work upon and we can develop ourselves in a much stronger way once the COVID is over. So welcome to ETAuto, Mr. Ashwani Gupta. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Nabeel and ETAuto for giving this platform. First, on behalf of Nissan, I want to pay tribute to the amazing and courageous frontline workers across the world, helping to get us through the crisis. Our thoughts are especially with those who have lost loved ones to the virus. Nissan continues to support initiatives to stop the spread of the virus. Our priority is always the safety and well-being of our employees and their families. Now let's look at how the economy will be shaped. To be honest, no one knows what the economy recovery will look like, whether it will be V-shaped, or it will be U-shaped, or it will be L-shaped, or it will be W-shaped. Some of the consultants forecast a 20% decline with the worst case scenario of 40% decline for new auto sales in 2020. What we do know is that it will take time for societies and economies to recover. And we do know there will be a greater death in both governments and industries as a result of the stimulus measures that are being proposed, passed around the world. However, the importance of the car will not disappear in that new economic environment. And the trends that were transforming the sector before the coronavirus situation will be more important than ever. The way we make cars, the way we sell cars will change. In fact, we are seeing more interest from non-owners who see a car as a reducing change of future infection. 72% of non-owners show a strengthened car purchase intent. We saw that in China, we are seeing it in the United States, and we are seeing it in Japan, and I'm hopeful that we will see in other parts of the world. And many are interested in advanced technologies that will ward off the infections. 50% of first-time buyers are searching for health-related features in the cars. For example, germ filtering. They are looking for whether the car is fitted with germ filtering or temperature measurement or cuff measurement or something like that. We at Nissan have a strong heritage of R&D and innovation, and we are confident of our product lineup across these areas. As we all know, we were the pioneers of electric vehicle with Nissan Leaf and have a history of making cutting-edge technologies available to the masses. Whatever shape the recovery takes, Nissan will be focused providing new generation of vehicles with the latest technologies in autonomous drive, electrification, and connectivity to customers around the world. Finally, now is the time to understand the vulnerabilities threats and opportunities, and make a plan. Know what's going on in every part of our business. How will you get that perspective? How will you ensure that you can adapt to the new normal and come back from this crisis with your core purpose, values, and culture intact? Thank you. It's all yours, Nabeel.
Thank you, Ashwani. Quite a good insight. Let's be a bit more focused on, because I'm sitting here in New Delhi, you are sitting in Tokyo. Tokyo is known for resurrecting from the crisis here. We talked about 2011, and there has been almost every day some kind of announcement. There has been many, such crises that Japan has come strongly, and Nissan also. Can you give us two, three key aspects or key subject that the Indian counterparts can take care of, and probably they can work towards that to speed up the recovery once we are out of this COVID? And what are
Yeah.
the key focus area that they should have in these testing times?
Thank you, Nabeel, for the question. Yeah, I have a long association with Japan. I think it's more than 25 years. I've lived there 3 times with my family and so on. I think there are 3 or 4 things which makes Japan different the way they are handling coronavirus. And this is, of course, my personal experience. The first one is Japan as a country and the community is well educated and integrated to manage the crisis because of tsunami, fire, earthquakes, and so on and so on. By virtue of that, the whole community becomes more structured and more organized when there is a panic. And this is very clear strength of Japan. That's number one. Number two is Japan by law cannot forcibly ask people to stay home, like we are seeing lockdowns and so on. However, when the Japanese government made a request after deploying the emergency, please stay at home, there was a vote called please. And the society understand what please means. And since then, we have seen that 30% work from home, 50% work from home. Finally, we reached in Nissan 80% work from home. But that is not driven only by the individual, that is driven by the community. And that's why we as the top management, we had to make sure that we are having the flexible timings, we are having all kind of guidelines. Then the number 3 is when we know the guidelines of the corona, which is social distancing and mask and so on, this is already existing in Japanese community. If somebody has a cold, they put the mask, right? Since years now. So I think that those guidelines are already a part of the society. And finally, which I think I will not comment more, but Japan have their own way of handling the medical system, which is testing and so on that. So with that, what I can say that the things which we have to learn from Japan is, number 1, no panic when there is a panic. Number 2, work as community. Number 3, be flexible because you will be not forced, but on the other side, it is your moral responsibility to follow the guidelines. And I think if we are disciplined to do that, I think this makes a difference.
Let's come back to the markets specific. You handle several countries, US, Europe, you directly deal with them. Can you give us a sense which are the market which is doing well in terms of continuing with the production or the sales process? Where do you see the economic activity continue to be there, even in a low basis or a smaller way, but the economic activity is there, it's not completely freezed? And how are they managing? Which are those 5-6 countries that you will bring in, and how are they doing it?
Yeah, well, Nabeel, so I think at first let's say the origin was China, and China was fully locked down. And we followed the instruction and we closed the plants, we took out our expatriates and so on, because we believe that people's safety is first. But when the China came back, it came back with a full boom, because the example which I'm sharing before, that we are clearly seeing the increase in the first-time buyers. And we know the reason why. Also, we are clearly seeing the increase in the usage of vehicle by 36%, and we know why it is. So to give you the answer, China is back. And I just received this morning the results of China for us in April, and we increased our market shares, and markets are getting back, and there will be much faster recovery. Then the only country which did not go for the full lockdown is Japan. And even if with 50–75% of people working from home, still the auto TIV, auto market, is 46% down with respect to last year, which means people are still buying cars in Japan. And that is the reason we are still operating our plants in Japan. May not be with the same pace, one shift with the social distancing and so on and so on. The countries where we face the full lockdown was Europe and US. However, we kept our sales to the medical workers, to governments, to hospitals, and so on and so on. That's it. Otherwise, everything was locked. US was locked, but quickly started reopening, as we all know. And last weekend sales for us was excellent. We sold 7 GTRs in Florida, which means people still want to go out during the spring break and so on and so on. So my view is we have to see it country by country, how they are prepared to constrain this, the effectiveness of the actions they have taken to secure the people.
Looking at the developments after this COVID, China had been one of the backrooms for world's manufacturing when it comes to component or even various things. There is some narrative that is not in favor of China. Do you think there are some change that is going to take place in terms of global supply chain base, and which are the countries you expect to gain out of it?
Well, Nabeel, I can comment on the auto industry, especially Nissan. The China TIV, the China, US, and Japan, these are the top 3 automotive TIVs in the world. We sell more than 1.5 million in China, and our plants are full. So basically, it depends on the sourcing strategy of each company. We as Nissan believe in localization in the country. And this is why in India also, we have the highest amount of localization right from the first day among the others. The point is, when China went for lockdown, we had to adjust only 10,000 production in Japan for the parts we were importing from China, which means what we make in China is for China, except some parts. Now, you mentioned, Nabeel, and thank you for that. After Tsunami 2011, we have a process called business continuity process, and we have a Christmas tree. If something goes wrong, we just push the button and we know how to prepare the backup. So if we have let me say, light coming from China, we have somewhere on this planet the second sourcing or the backup plan. That's number one. Number two is, even if the backup plan is taking time, we Nissan have got the patent for die-less production. We don't need a tool. We don't need a die to prepare a part, and we can do it right on the robot. So these all backup facilities, the process, the skill and competencies we have, and that's why we were not impacted much by the long lockdown of China. And now situation is different, totally opposite. And this is why I said Corona is unique. Now, when China is in full pace, and they are asking me to make more, and they have some parts which are coming from other parts of the world, and I have to launch the BCP in the reverse way because now I have to feed China for that. So that's why I think, as far as Nissan is concerned, our sourcing policy is not single source and single location, because by virtue of the risk management, we always used to have some backup plan or double sourcing.
But there has always been an inclination towards China for sourcing, not only Nissan, other companies also, like European manufacturers or American manufacturers. Some parts were largely dependent on on China. Do you think it is changing now? Do you think that the dependence on China will reduce for not only Nissan, for other manufacturers as well?
Well, Nabeel, I cannot say for other manufacturers because, as you know, I work for Nissan. As far as Nissan is concerned, our dependency is very, very less, and that's why we didn't face any issue on it. But what I can tell you is, the way world is moving, the auto industry will reform, right? If you look at India, 1992, attract the foreign investment, put the localization as a KPI, ask for the localization, then open the auto market for more than a majority, right? So we have seen this transition. Then we have seen a transition after Lehman shock, which was globalization. Go for globalization, make one model, go everywhere in the world. But now, I'm not talking about post-corona, I'm talking about pre-corona, because of three things. We have to relook into from globalization to regionalization. The first factor, we saw the trade conflicts between United States, China. We saw the Brexit, right? Which means globalization is going towards regionalization, number one. Number two, you look at the regulation, regulation trend, the Euro 5, Euro 6, Euro 7, China 7, SLIF 7 in United States. Every country is going for their own regulations. So which means you have to tune your vehicle for the country specific. Number three, the consumer behavior. The consumer behavior is changing to buy not only a car, but to buy it as a commodity with more connected cars, with more facilities, with more services. Then we see Japan, where the aging society, we call it, is more, which means we have to define products for this community with advanced safety features and so on. And then we see population dividend, like India or Vietnam, where the population of working is more than population of non-working. So if you add number one, number two, number three, we just can't afford to have one model around the world because the requirements are different. And then we need to say, okay, we'll go region by region. This was already happening pre-corona. And I do believe post-corona, it will be more strengthened, the fact that we just can't afford to have everything everywhere in the world. And we have to prioritize and focus where we have a strong customer, where we have a strong brand, where we have a strong technology, and finally, where we get return on our investments.
So if I put it this way, do you see the deglobalization or regionalization that you are talking about to further intensify after the corona is over?
I think it will. I will not call it deglobalization, Nabeel. I will call it regionalization. And if you remember, a few years before, we were regionalized. Before that, we were nationalized. If you look at India, we were nationalized. Then we went for regionalization, and then we went for globalization. So I would say we will come back to regionalization, and every country will start to focus on their own country or consumers and so on for the time being. But economy is economy, world is world. I mean, things keeps on evolving, and it is up to the agility of each organization that how we align the organization in line with the business needs.
But looking at the current scenario, we may go back to 1 or 2 decades ago when the situation was completely different. Today, every corporation, most of the companies have interest in multi-geographies. Look at the technology that has also almost merged the borderlines and those country kind of, that barrier that we had. So in such a scenario, regionalization or deglobalization that I see it, that's my personal view, do you think it is going to be prolific? Do you think it is going to be a positive phenomena for the global economy or the global village that we were talking about, a global citizen, a global corporatization, that all phenomena is going for a toss, I guess? How do you see this?
Yeah, yeah, very, very good question. The point is, where is your entry point? If your entry point is region plus region plus region plus region makes a global, or you start from global and then you go region by region. And when the World Bank, I shared in my introduction, the IMF, when they make the warning, they have gone country by country, right? Because the situation of each country is different. We just can't put everybody in the same basket because of culture, because of tradition, because of the business context, because of many contexts. As I said, Japan law does not permit to have a lockdown. But on the other side, you have countries you go for lockdown, right? So I think there will be a correction and we have to reset the way we work. When markets are doing good, everything looks better and bigger. And when everything looks bigger, everybody wants to grow and everybody wants to have an economy of scale, because economy of scale always brings a better return on investment. However, I believe that if we are going to regionalization, we will not have economy of scale because of the three reasons I talked to you before. I cannot make one engine, one powertrain for all over the world because the regulation in each country is different. So I have to invest in different engines. Then what choice I have? If I have a basket of money, I will select where, right? Then what will be very important is, because we are not going to make money, because we will not have economy of scale, then we have to create value. And this is where things will change now, that we have to create for the customer a value. And I will explain you why. When markets are growing, when markets are good, customer comes to your shop to buy the car. And then, you're sitting like this, oh, please come, okay, please buy this, da, 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 da. But now, when markets are flat or declining, customers will not automatically come to your shop. You will have to go to the customer. And when you will go to the customer, you need to have a differentiator. And the differentiator is only the value, not the volume. And that's why, Nabeel, I think this is high time that we must realign our organization from volume focus to value focus. And that is where we are going to make the return for our shareholders.
Let's come back to India. We have almost completed more than a month of complete freeze, complete lockdown in automotive industry. And April was a month, historic month, where we did not have a single product produced, zero production, zero sales. Still, we saw the growth in number has been very rapid, from about 300 corona cases on March 21st or 22nd, when we went into this lockdown, complete lockdown. Till now, we have about 42,000. At the same time, we look at the Japan, which did not impose complete lockdown or complete freeze of manufacturing process. The number there is almost similar or less than India, much lesser than India. Of course, the population differentiation is already there. India is a huge country. So is there a piece of advice that you would like to throw up to the industry or the government of India?
Well, even if we are not living in India, but we are connected on everyday basis because all our family and friends are in India, and we all are concerned, not about India, but because of this pandemic. Then when I look at, and especially because, thanks to the operations I am handling all over the world, when I look at how country by country the actions were taken towards this coronavirus, and I'm not a medical expert, so I will not comment on the medical expertise. But what I would like to comment is, in India, we clearly see a unity to address this topic. That's number one, seen from me, who is sitting in Tokyo, which is quite similar to what I see in Tokyo, what I see in Japan. Number two, the please in Japan is replaced by forced lockdown with a proper execution by the administration, and this is also working very well. Number three is the process of containing this coronavirus. This process is totally different, and this is exclusivity of India because of our diversity across the country. And I think with this kind of country, with size of the country, with this kind of population, with this kind of diversity, the processes, the infrastructure, the social security system, the process adopted by the government, which I call it even for my business, is priority and focus, because we can't do everything at one side. So the way the government is saying, okay, we have a red zone, we have an orange zone, we have a green zone. This is clearly priority and focus, because we know that we cannot lock down country forever because of our context, good or bad. I'm not commenting on that. Every country has got its own context, own history, own culture. But to get maximum out of it, on one side, while keeping the safety of the people, on other side, starting the economy step by step. And I think India is doing great towards that. And finally, Nabeel, on the KPI, which are numbers, I think we have different way of measurements and different way of addressing it. But I think what's very important is to understand the way India is proceeding. The concept is prioritization and focus, which is a nice balance between people's safety and the opening of economy step by step.
So of course, we have been able to perform one of the best. If you look at the places around the world, look at Italy, US, India. Looking at the case, we are in much better position now, right now. Hope that we continue to remain in that situation. At least we come out of that. We have very less number of cases so far. 42,000 for a billion plus population, I think, is a fair job done by us. Coming back to again your Nissan's operations across the world, we have seen some of the places where things were not so great, like Indonesia. You pulled out. How do you see the Indian market when you see that the India has not been doing that great in terms of volume share? Your volume remains low. Your market share remains below 2%. So how do you see, how can you resurrect this market, or how can you revive this market? Because 5% market share was your target. And so how is it going to pan out? And globally also, you wanted to have at least 8% market share, if I'm not wrong. Long ago, your company had devised a plan for that. So how do you look at India and the market share around the world? Because things has not been in the best form for Nissan so far in terms of sales.
We announce end of May, and I think I will be very happy to share with you and with everyone what is our plan for India. But because you have raised this question, let me give you a little bit of background. And I go back, stop our plants in Indonesia because we dropped our market share from 6% to 1% when we increased our capacity from 30,000 to 200,000. The lesson learned from Indonesia is we have to always stick to our originality. In Indonesia, when we used to do the CBUs, we used to sell 75% SUVs and 25% MPVs. So it was Grand Serena and the Duke. But when we went for expansion strategy, we went for LCGC and all kind of 16 or 17 cars for a TIV of only 1 million, anticipating that TIV will be 2 million, but it never reached 2 million because today also it's 1 million. So on the other side, when we look at the stable markets, US, Japan, China, where we have a significant market share. In Japan, close to 10, 11%, in US, in China, we have the strength because it comes from brand, it comes from products, it comes from dealers, it comes from the competitiveness of the plant. And this gives us the momentum to move forward. So under the next midterm plan, what clearly is our approach is, again, prioritization and focus, because we can't do everything everywhere. And we have to select where we are going to make a more difference in terms of society, in terms of shareholder value, and also in terms of stakeholder value. And when we come to India, we have installed a capacity in India. And as you know, it's not only Nissan, it's Renault plus Nissan. And Renault plus Nissan putting together, we are growing. And the challenge always remains, what is our D-Day when we can come and celebrate that, today we had the win. I think we are far from there.
What will you call a win?
You will have to wait till end of the month.
What will you call a win in India?
Well, I will call a win in India. We used to have win in India when we used to have Tiana and X-Trail.
Okay.
And still people who drive Tiana and X-Trail loves it.
So you think...
So, it's question of Nabeel, where we are focusing and how we are focusing.
So
I will not go beyond that. You will have to wait a little bit more.
Okay, great. Coming back to the global trade scenario, looking at what's happening in the supply chain space, how do you see India can place itself as a lucrative option for the global automotive manufacturers to be a supply chain hub? And what are the possibilities?
Well, I think, Nabeel, this is the time when India auto industry should change. When you go for global sourcing, when you don't have the capacity in your own country and you don't want to invest in another capacity. So long back, everybody thought the auto markets will go like this. Okay. Then everybody went for economy of scales, everybody went for global sourcing, and so on and so on. But as we talked just before, that when the regionalization will come, first thing we will say, let's first clean our kitchen before asking the other kitchen to make a food for you. And this is what is going to happen because every country will have capacity. Every country will have ample capacity. Then what is the best way to use the other's capacity is only the value add and the value creation. And that's where the auto industry will change. Whether we can innovate the sensors to detect the temperature, whether we can innovate the sensors to do some kind of germ filtering or something like that. But now we have to create value using the different innovations.
It's very interesting discussion, but time is ticking. But I'll take my question, 2-3 questions, and then I'll start taking questions from the audience. I have a long list of questions from the audience also. So coming back to India again, because a lot of Indian viewers are watching our show right now. So how do you see India as a market, as a possible market when it comes to investment from the global manufacturers, automotive manufacturers, how do you weigh the potentiality of India in current situation and after COVID situation?
Well, I think India has to stand up and sing a song about its competitiveness, which is not only global sourcing, let me tell you, because the benchmark we do, the manufacturing competitiveness of India is not at the same level it used to be when I was buyer in 1992. It's not the same. I can tell you, okay? Now, where India is having the competitiveness is, for example, we have more than 7, 8, 9,000 engineers in R&D BCI in Chennai. And believe me, the job which we get from them is not because India is a low-cost country. It's because India is a high-skill country. So I would like the mindset to be changed from LCC to HSC, which is high-skilled country. And we are developing today a lot of artificial intelligence data centers. We, as you know, we have a digital hub in Kerala now, which is managing all of our digitalization. I'm not saying they are doing the maintenance of our servers. They are responsible for digital transformation of global Nissan sitting in Kerala. This is value add. It's not the back offices. It's not the call centers. It's the value add which we have to do. So that's where I think India has to stand up and say and sing a song that this is our competitiveness, which is not low cost. It's high scale. We innovate, we create difference, and please invest in India because we will give you something which you will not get anywhere in the world.
So let me give you a good news here. In the last 5-7 years, India has become hub for innovation and research for several big multinationals in automotive, especially for digital software and AI kind of thing, apart from the core R&D that we do. But the Indian manufacturers are yet to catch up in terms of innovating and developing their own technology. But already the talent pool is being very well utilized by the multinational automotive manufacturers and also in other sectors. So that's a very good progress that we have made in last 10-12 years, I must say. Coming back to, and I'm just trying to put the same question in a bit different way. Suppose we have competition with the countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and India. If suppose you have to invest in these three countries, how will you put them in priority order?
Well, Nabeel. You know, I visited Vietnam 2 times. Let me share with you what is Vietnam. And I'm talking about auto market first. Vietnam is roughly 300,000. This is 40 years old, India.
Yeah.
This is a two-wheeler market. Okay. Now we are growing at 10, 15, 16%. And I think this year the TIV should be roughly 400,000. I don't think beyond. There is no local industry to support our localization. Look at India. How much we make? 3 million? If you include...
We achieved 3.4 million of local sales last year.
3.4 plus used cars, because you know it's difficult to count used cars in India.
Similar used car also.
Absolutely, which is not the case in Vietnam, right? So we just can't compare melon with a lemon. Okay, we have a very structured industry in India, and our eyes should be exactly you said, Nabeel. It should be on innovation. We should graduate from localization, global sourcing to innovative thinkers. And I'm pretty sure last month, you know, before I still do a lot of game bars. I go to the plants, I go to the R&D labs, I go to the innovation center. I visited Atsugi, and I was so happy to find more than 100 engineers in our innovation lab in Atsugi who are developing the next level of connectivity, And that's where I think we have to do. And this is, Nabeel, not existing in Vietnam today. And I'm pretty sure it's not existing in other Asian countries. I'm not saying Singapore and so on. I'm saying more about manufacturing industry. So I think India is standalone, should be confident to explore into innovation using the skill and talents we have in India.
Okay, so of course there's another aspect also, because Vietnam has lower penetration, so opportunity of growth will also come there. India is also still lower on penetration. We have about 25 cars per 1,000 people, so it's still long way to go. So there remains a great opportunity for growth. So investment should come to India also. We have a big market. We have one of the youngest, population that we have. So of course, there's a big consumer class that is there. Coming back to again, I just want to understand. You have taken India on the global pedestal right now. You are one of the leading names in the global automobile turf. What would be your message to the people in India who want to achieve something like what you have achieved? What should they do?
Nabeel, ये question syllabus में नहीं था. You asked me to prepare for Corona, so anyhow.
No, but you are such a fascinating personality.
Okay. Okay,
And in Nissan, I have seen largely. Do you think that the acceptance of Indian business leader is increasing globally? In Nissan itself, your CIO was Indian, you are Indian, Lavanya, your communications head is now an Indian. And in other companies also, we see a lot of Indian taking the top spots.
Yeah. Well, what I would say, there are two aspects. The first, which I will express, which is normal for every entrepreneur or every young guy who graduated from the university. But the second one is why Indian makes the difference. That I will tell you. But normally in one's career, there are three steps. The first step is you graduate, you start working. At that time, I think one should always have a dream in the heart. The second, the feet should be on the ground, even if the heart is dreaming. And then using eyes, ears, and nose, we should know the reality. And then we should use our mind to close the gap between dream and reality. And for this, what we need is hard work. But what very important is patience and faith. It's not overnight. It's not overnight. And I would say no pain, no glory. Okay. Then there is a second part of the career. The first part of the career, you gain the knowledge and you grow because you have faith, patience, hardworking, passionate, all kind of fancy words I can talk about. But your feet is on the ground, your heart is in the sky for dreaming. The second phase is when you're experiencing the knowledge, you're applying the knowledge. At that time, you need to make your team grow because you are leader. It's not the first phase when you are gaining the knowledge. And when you are leader, you have to make sure three things. Number one, you have a clear vision, where you want to go, how you want to go, when you want to go, what you want to do. Number two, you should be able to empower the team. However, you should protect them when they are in issue problem. And number three, you deliver the results and celebrate with the team. And then you become a leader, which team is proud to have you because they are not working for you, they are working with you. And then the third stage comes, which is when you are entering in the wisdom stage. And if you say wisdom stage, you name about Mr. Bill Gates, you name about Mr. Ratan Tata, now you name about Mr. Anand Mahindra. It's wisdom. When you want community to grow, right? These are the three things in the three steps in the career. Now, why Indian makes difference? And during the weekend, because we had work from home, so we get enough time to refresh ourselves. During the weekend, I was reading the book by Mr. Satya Nadella on Hit Refresh. It's about his journey from Hyderabad to United States, his childhood, and so on and so on. And he talked about one thing, which I believe is only possible with Indians, which is empathy. And I think the Indian leaders, number one, they have been grown in the diversified environment. They know jugaad, but if they are well educated, they can smartly polish the jugaad, because every day we have to fight for everything. Number two, they are adaptable, because you land at Delhi airport, you have to be adaptable. It's not one line, it's not everything, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a strength. And number three is empathy. So diversity, adaptability, and empathy. I think these are the three things which are really helping Indian executives or Indian talent to grow faster, because that's our differentiator. And as you correctly said, our head of communication is Indian. Our head of treasury in Indian. Our head of controlling is Indian. At the end, whatever passport they have, their origin, their roots, you cannot change the face, even if you change the passport, right? So I think that's a clear advantage Indians have got. So my request will be, apart from the three steps which everybody has to experience, please keep empathy, please be humble, and please be inside the society, work together, stay together, and become stronger.
So I'll take now. Thank you so much. This was really a great learning and great, a booster for Indian executives who might be looking to follow your footsteps, and many others who have achieved it, I'm sure. And it is quite proven that the brand equity of Indian executive has really increased on the global turf. Let me take some of the questions from audience also. So now the next question, though there are a lot of questions on India specific, on investment of Nissan in India, as you have already said that you will not be able to answer that because you are in the middle of deciding your program or midterm program. So next, a generic question that I'm going to take from Anil Kumar Kaul. He wants to understand Nissan is doing well in others market. Why is it okay again in India? His next question is, Ashwani, what new product development are you contemplating in terms of medical innovation or healthcare innovation, he means, which will be part of modern passenger cars? This will be key to sales globally as well as in India.
So great question. So I will go back to what I said before. In Japan, we are facing a lot of fatal accidents in the aged society. By mistake, they wanted to push the brake pedal, they pushed the accelerator pedal, for example. So for us in Nissan, we are investing heavily on the advanced technologies, which I call it respect for the driver. And this is totally different, exactly what he mentioned, that it's not talking about ambulances, it's not talking about cars for physically handicapped and so on and so on. This is for normal people, to make them more and more secured and safe. So when Nissan, we decided to invest in autonomous driving, that doesn't mean that tomorrow morning we will have a driverless car running on the highway between Gurgaon and Delhi. This could be the final dream because everybody wants to have a dream. And as I said before, but on the other side, we have to work on the reality. But because we have a dream that we want to have a driverless car, we are developing all the technologies towards that. But we will not wait till that junction. We have started applying those technologies today in our cars. So it's early for India to get to those cars, and when time will come, I'm going to explain it. What is our midterm plan? But in Japan, even for the K car, we have a ProPilot, which means you can delegate, and this can assist you while driving, and you can have a stress-free driving. So Nissan today is working on zero emission and zero fatality. That's our dream. Because we have a purpose. Our purpose is not only to make profit, our purpose is for the society, for the planet. And that's why it's zero fatality and zero emission. So answering to that question, answer is yes. We are developing all kinds of technologies which will respect the driver and help them for a better driving and handling of the car.
Thank you. Before I take the next question, let me give out a message to the viewer. We'll take questions only from the ETAuto micro site. So if you, the questions put here can be only taken because there are many questions coming on other platforms. So we may not be able to take from there. So the questions which are there on the ETAuto micro site, that will be taken care only. So there's a repeated question coming up, that's when are we going to be out of this COVID scenario? So it's anybody's guess. I don't know if you want to take this question because 5-7 people have asked the same question in this.
I think, if they have listened to my speech, I think they have all the answers. I think nobody has a crystal ball. Only thing we know that we have to contain this pandemic. That's why it's called pandemic. Otherwise, it would have been a normal viral fever. In Japan, we have hay fever. Every year, we take shots for the influenza, so that proactive, preventive shots and so on. But because we know it, what is it? What does it mean? What is the size of it? What is the impact of it? But this one, we have to wait. But when it comes to markets like India, and I said before Japan, we have to make a very fine balance between the people's safety and the business. And obviously, as Nissan, we are putting people's safety as the first priority.
Okay.
So more and more, we are following the guideline given by the medical experts and the governments. I think more and more we will have the visibility to get out of it.
So next question I'll take from Atul Desai. He wants to ask, please share the opportunity that can come from the Japanese incentive to shift manufacturing from China to other countries. Which specific opportunities can you see? Is EV battery cell or other areas in electronic or white goods shift to India possible, or is it a dream?
Well, selling and buying only works if both are win-win. So as I said before, India has to stand up and sing a song. We are competitive.
Okay. Next question is a bit on your personal side. He asks, everybody in corporate world is clean shaven. Why did you choose to grow your beard? This is a bit on the lighter side.
Well. Yeah. So first of all, the appointment to Nissan came to me. I was having dinner, and it was just 45 minutes before the board of Nissan called me, and they said that you have to change from Mitsubishi COO to Nissan COO. And I asked the question, do I have any other option? Because I was doing really, really great in Mitsubishi, because Mitsubishi Group This is roughly 1/3 of the Japanese economy, right? And they said, no, 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 there is no other option. You have to just do it. Okay, thank you. And then I said, what exactly I have to do in Nissan? Obviously, I was the first employee of Renault Nissan in India. And I wanted really to make a difference that will be shown to the world, especially internally, that the challenge I have in front of me is much more, which I can anticipate, to be honest with you, because every morning is I have to see where is the sunrise. It's not natural. So I thought, let me put something on me which will represent that because of this challenge, I took it. I thought after recovery is done, maybe I will take it off. But I have mixed opinion because my French teams, my American teams, my mainly European teams and the American teams like it. Asian teams have mixed reaction, but I'm enjoying it. So I'm enjoying it because I save 7 minutes in the morning because I don't have to shave.
Okay.
And especially now when we are in coronavirus, when you have a social distancing, I'm the luckiest guy because I don't have to follow the guideline to go to the barber shop, right?
Yes. So next question comes from Dinesh Sisodia. He wants to understand what would be the likely impact of tanking crude price, also COVID situation on electric vehicles.
So there are 2 points, 2 points, Nabeel. At first, the global energy demand. And as I said before, that after Lehman shock, it has gone down by 8 times. So what was post Lehman shock? It's 8 times lower. So when we have this kind of decline in the global oil prices, obviously it impacts the countries who are dependent on the oil transaction. That's number one. And we have to see how it works.
So
then number 2 is, the number 2 is on the electric vehicle. Under the normal circumstances, we should have a tipping point when customers should say that at this point, I will have an electric vehicle which is better. Because there are 2 things which you look at electric vehicle. One is you're following the regulation of the country. You don't want to pay penalty on the CO2 and the CAFE regulation. That's why you want to buy a EV vehicle. This is one part. The another part is you want to buy EV vehicle because you like it. It's smooth. It's fast. And at the end, the total cost of ownership is less than the normal engine. This may change if the oil prices are coming down. The tipping point may be extended. And this is where we have to be careful between the mix and the transition from an ICE engine to the zero emission engine, including the batteries.
We discussed about how the COVID is going to impact the shared mobility or the fleet and public transportation system. But do you think this impact and the demand for personal vehicle or owning a car is going to sustain for long term? And do you see this to be a phenomena across the world, or do you think largely limited to the developed economy where the purchasing power is enough? And how do you see the change in the used car market? Do you see that also picking up?
Well, Nabeel, what I can share with you is the data which we have today. And we have a very, very strong department. We call it marketing intelligence. And since 1st of April, I changed the name of this department from marketing intelligence to marketing science. Because selling will not be only intelligence. The way you sell will be based on the science. Because customer may not come to your showroom, but he may buy your car. And this will change. I mean, this will change, and this is already changing. As I said before, in China, we have more people who are first-time buyers because maybe as a natural phenomena, as the guideline says, you need to have a social distancing. The only thing which comes into your mind when you are going with your family is your personal vehicle. Even for the shared, you will say, oh, I don't know who used it before, whether it is sanitized or not sanitized, and so on and so on. And I think this phenomena will increase. And we are seeing it already, as I said before. But where we have to be careful, Nabeel, is when we started the coronavirus countermeasures in our R&D center, obviously we said we cannot install the CAD data at home. So our engineers who had to design, they have to come to office, but all the other guys can stay at home. But when they come to the office, we may not allow them to travel in the bus. Please bring your car or please use the shared mobility. But then we discovered we didn't have even the parkings for everyone. So that's a fine line. So we can say simply that people will go from mass transportation to the personal transportation. But then the next question comes, how much prepared we are with the infrastructure? And this is not only a question of India, this is all over the world.
I'll skip some of the questions which we have already, I think you have answered. So I'll take only those questions which are a bit different, we have not discussed. So next question I'm taking from Michael Smith. He has 4 questions. So let me see how many you can answer. What are the opportunities to grow and transform in this situation? How industry can diversify to sustain the fluctuating demand? Example, Tesla is growing battery cells business that is linked with the electric car. What will be the impact of PPP, public-private partnership, and MAS, and where is car industry's place in it? What is the potential in shortening the road to market end user by direct sell channels? Is it a niche or possible future trend?
Ooh la la. So let's go one by one.
Yeah.
I think the only way for the sustainability for the auto business is to create value, because for the coming years, based on what all the trends we have, the markets will not grow as it used to grow, which means customer will not come naturally to your shop. You have to go to the customer. And when you go to the customer, you should be differentiated from others. Then only he will buy your product. So sustainability will come from the value creation by the each automotive manufacturer. I think that is one which I would say is the most important in our business case. The number 2 is, you talked about diversify. Diversity is a very good word if it is covering the world. But I think for me, more than diversity, what is important is the depth of penetration. If in US, if we have 10% market share, instead of investing in the diversities, I would prefer to increase the market share by increasing the penetration, for example, with the existing diversity, because auto industry is so much investment intensive industry. We need to have first the maximum return on the investment. Now, you talked about, the battery cells and so on. And I come back once again. The tipping point to change from ICE to EV for a normal customer, I'm not talking about luxury cars and so on, is between 97 to 100 kilowatt per hour of battery. This is with the original diesel rates. And if it goes down, tell me all the capacities we have around the world on the battery, which supplier would like to invest in the solid state battery or in the fuel cell? I think every capacity will say, I have invested so much in the past based on the volume growth. I'm not earning anymore, so I need to utilize my existing capacity. So please use my existing battery cells and so on and so on. I think this is already happening, and this is going to happen. The last question, if I understand well, on the MAAS and so on, believe me, this is the future. This is the future of automotive industry. And I don't know how many of you got the glimpse of Aria, which we launched in the Tokyo Motor Show. This car is, you are not only communicating with the car is communicating with you. And the new technologies like MAS, the CCS 2.0, the CCS 3.0, these are all going to kill the way we sell the cars, the way we drive the cars. You know, so my recommendation is, when we talk about autonomous driving, connected, and electric, these are the three technologies which will change the face of the automotive industry in future. And you mentioned PPP and MASS, it's part of the connected technology. But this is only, let me say, on board. But what's important, and that's where, Nabeel, I come back to you, your question about India. On-board technology is one part. On-board means the technology which we put inside the car. But I'm talking about off-board. And off-board is where you have the customer experience. You sit in the car, you tell to the car, I want to eat the nicest Italian dinner. Please take me to that restaurant. And they make the appointment, they reserve the table, they tell you the menu, and so on and so on. This is all because of the services. And this is where I told before that few hundred of engineers from India is helping Nissan in Japan to develop all those softwares.
So coming back to, again, taking this question forward, how do you see the case scenarios changing? We were talking about connected first, then autonomous, then shared, then electrified. How do you see shared moving away? How do you think autonomous coming first? How do you see the scenario now?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest, Nabeel, who put the name case. Maybe, you know, it is easy to pronounce, so somebody put the case, but I don't think there is a hierarchy that C comes first, to be honest. If you go into the history, E came first in 2010. You know, Nissan was the first to launch the electric vehicle in 2010. Then Nissan was the first to launch ProPilot and autonomous driving feature. And then, of course, Tesla and everybody came in. And then now we are working on connected. I think as Nissan, the next Aria will be the state of art for the connected vehicles. I would say that post-corona, connected will be much more activated because it's part of the digital transformation, because this is linking to the customer experience. If I look at electric, this will be more a platform to support a car which is not only a EV, but much more than EV, because we can put a lot of technologies in EV. You saw Aria, it's a flat platform. So we say, you get into the car, you feel like you have a magic carpet, you're sitting in your living room. That's where I think the electric will lead to. It will not be a simple battery car, you know, it will be a lounge. Then you come to autonomous driving, and autonomous driving, as I said before, nobody is going for level 4, level 5 tomorrow morning. But what Nissan is trying to do is to build on level 2, level 3, the sensor technologies, the radar technologies, the camera technologies, so that we can start implementing those. For example, our camera technology, for example, our sensor technology. And if we are able to put the health hazard for detecting the temperature of the body of the driver before it gets into it, come on, this is an innovation. But we are not saying it's autonomous driving. What we are saying is what we learned in autonomous driving, we are replicating in it. And then finally, you have artificial intelligence. You have an office in Silicon Valley who is collecting the temperature of all the passengers and giving you in the headquarters that this is what it is. So I think this is going to evolve. And I think the post-corona, the digital transformation will be activated much faster than it was anticipated. And we have seen it, Nabeel. Today, I never thought that ET, we can do it like this. You remember?
Yes.
So you look at yourself, right?
Yeah. If you permit, I'll take one last question, because I don't want to leave many, disappointed. So there are several questions. Let me take one last question. Due to COVID-19, this is Anil Garg. He wants to understand the demand for automobile is going to go down. What is the future of entry level and mid level EV four wheelers after lockdown is over? Do you really feel that India can catch up the export market both in ICE and electric vehicles?
Well, what's important is we launched Nissan Leaf in 2010. Today we are in 2020, and we still have the customers who are happy with our first battery. The point is, when you look at the EV cars, if the body cost 100, the battery costs 100, and you are 200. So there are two things which are important to export the EV car. Number one is how much competitive the battery cost is. And the battery cost is not only the manufacturing cost, because most of the cost in battery comes from cobalt and other minerals which are not available in India, right? And the number two is the durability and reliability of the battery is very important for a passenger car, including fire resistance and so on and so on. So I think if we are thinking of exporting the EV car, we should focus on these two. One is the battery cost competitiveness, and second is the battery reliability and the endurance. Then, as I said before, almost every car manufacturer will have the empty capacities in their own country. And I think I would like to explain how the business work. The business work is, I will give a very layman example. You build a house, and then you say, we are 4 people living in this house, which means you invested in one house. And we call it in auto industry fixed cost. This is fixed. You cannot change it, right? And the variable cost is electricity. You switch on, you switch off, you control the variable cost. Now, if the markets are down, and if you have 2 more people who want to live with you, what you will say, I have a fixed cost already invested. Please come and live with me. Okay, you will put electricity on in another room. I am ready to pay for the variable cost. Why I should go for another house and invest another fixed cost? This is exactly which will happen, and we call it a marginal business. The moment your fixed cost is fixed, you try to increase your margin by maximizing the volume. And I think we should be very careful for the export demands if it is only driven by the cost competitiveness, because every country will have the capacities which will be available, at least for some time.
How do you see India's electric vehicle story unfolding?
So I said 2 things, battery cost competitiveness and the battery reliability and durability. I think this is one. The second is, Nabeel, and this is my mixed opinion because we are the one who have the experience of 10 years. I think the first thing comes in the in the mind of the customer is autonomy. And we have seen that, I will give you 2 examples. We have seen that a normal customer who goes to the office is traveling between 30 to 40 to 50 kilometers. And then if you have a charging station in office, you charge it, you come back, and so on and so on. Or in the weekend, you're going to the mall, you have a charging station, you charge it. So if you are having an autonomy of more than 200 or 220 kilometers, at least we have seen the mindset change in the customer. That's for sure. So we have to have that. We have to have that autonomy. The second thing is, we always talk about infrastructure. Yes, we need infrastructure. But believe me, that when you have infrastructure in the malls, when you have infrastructure in your offices, in your factories, in the fleet go downs, and so on, and if you are doing a full round of the outer ring road or the inner ring road, how much you will travel? And then I come to my last point, which is very important, that we are developing the quick chargers. You can charge it in 10 minutes. Imagine our next car, it will be charged in 12 minutes. I mean, so I think this was the old myth that autonomy is important, infrastructure is important, but the way we are evolving the technology, I don't think it's needed till that front. So that's why I think if India has to go for electric cars, battery cost competitiveness and battery reliability and durability, rest shell, the body of the car, India is very competitive.
Thank you so much, Ashwani, for taking all the questions and giving us such an insightful answer. I'm sure many people in the automotive industry will benefit from your thoughts, from the ideas that you have thrown today. And my personal gratitude and my many thanks for joining and staying with us for more than an hour. Thank you so much for taking our time. We really mean it. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, viewers. And we are really sorry we were not able to take many of the questions, but we'll certainly accommodate. Keep posting your question, keep engaging with ET Auto. Our next ET Auto Town Hall is coming on May 16 with Mr. Bipin Sondhi, who is Managing Director of Ashok Leyland. Thank you so much once again, Ashwani, for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabeel, and thank you, viewers. Thank you. And please stay safe and stay stronger.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.